Arthur, are you there?
So you're muted. Hi, Dan.
Hey, ladies, how are you?
We're doing good, I had to run upstairs and take a new headshot.
Oh, wow, you look fancy.
I am fancy because I wanted a
Yes.
blue. Like, yeah. Yes, fans for us. Okay, so tell me how you doing down there? How are you doing?
The weather is not bad right now. We're expecting some rain bands. We got the worst of it is definitely going to be to the south of us. We're going to be on the at this point on the back drier end of it because of the way everything rotates. The hurricane, it will basically get the part south and east of us. They'll get the worst of it, and then by the time it comes across to us, a lot of that moisture and a lot of the energy of the storm will have dissipated, so we'll get lighter bands, lighter breezes, lighter gusts here, and eventually we'll kind of get the back end of it.
Yeah.
So we went from being like in a really bad spot where if it lands just north of us or in directly on us, it becomes a major event for us because there's so much low-lying land in the Tampa Bay area. We actually have an interesting phenomenon happening right now, is that the water, because of the rotation, is actually literally drawing water out of Tampa Bay. So we have like super low like tides right now and low sea levels right now. So like boats are basically sitting on the sand that have been tied up, and then the water is just rushing out of Tampa Bay and out of northwest Tampa, and it's getting sucked around and then will eventually get pushed inland south of us to south and east of us.
Oh, that's interesting. I've never.
It's really interesting. And then the area, I haven't looked at the latest track, but the area that's gonna that where landfall is most likely, like us, has a couple rivers that come into it and a lot of low-lying land, and they're going to get a lot of water come back up, put those rivers and up those conduits.
Yeah.
So when we're done this afternoon, I was going to let's see if we reach out to James, because I thought what I would do is put out just a text, like a Google form saying, hey, I'm able to volunteer. Hey, I need help, and just try and put it in a form where people can just kind of match themselves up to like, okay, here's people in need and here's people that are available, and they could reach out to one another, and just set it up that way. So anyway, that's kind of what we're seeing, and it's definitely going to impact people south of us. And Melanie, I don't know that Maria Este is going to get it as bad as like Melanie and Leah McCann.
Yeah.
I think that Paul and Mark Benson are far enough south that it'll impact them, but not at the same level as people a little further north from there.
Right. Yeah. Because Mary Esther spoke this morning on the call, and she was saying they're expected to get rain, lots of it. And Leah, I spoke to while I'm looking for my stuff. Leah, I spoke to last night. Okay. So I know they're right in the middle of it, and it's just so much going on with her, with a market center and elderly parents and people who don't want to evacuate. So yeah, keep her in your prayers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, which Melanie's up there?
Melanie Betancourt.
Okay, yeah, I'll call her later. Yeah, because I hadn't called her. I was making my rounds yesterday. Yeah, and who I didn't talk to, I left messages.
Good. Yeah. Oh, sweetheart. I'm going to take a couple minutes here before we start to just kind of get a couple things together, and I'm going to just be I'm going to get off video, and but I'll be here.
Okay, great. I'm delighted to be your wingman today.
Oh, you're awesome. I couldn't have a better person. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'll upload the presentation if you want to use that. Tell me what you want to do.
Yeah, I think what I can do is I guess we can try using the presentation with
Yeah,
42 slides. I don't know if you usually have a question and answer of how, how much of it is a discussion and how much of it is typically more like one-sided lecture. My concern is that with 44 slides, that there's not going to be enough time to go through all the material.
right, yeah. So just choose what you, so I want it to be a discussion, but a guided discussion.
Yeah,
So choose what you want to go through and then ask for feedback.
okay, great.
Because I think we learn better when we have a discussion.
You know what I think I'd like to do is just put this slide on the side, like as an attachment, and just say, hey, if you need something to come back to trigger, like basically to kind of gauge your thoughts or just kind of like pull it together again.
Yeah,
You'll have this here
okay,
available for you to reference, a quick, quick summary of the things we talked about.
okay, so you don't want to use the slide at all.
I think that I would rather maybe just start with like a quick presentation of the slide, and maybe just go to the first section of the slide,
Okay,
and then quickly well, I might skim through the slides a little bit.
okay.
Yeah.
I am here to do what you want.
Okay, great.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
all right, see you in a little bit.
All right, see you in a little bit.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, Angela Paez. Hey, Lori.
Hiya.
Welcome.
So this is about bold, isn't it?
It is, the class is called How to Do More with Less.
That's right. Okay.
Leverage, using leverage to do more with less.
Gotcha.
And let me cue up the slides. We'll wait until we start. So where in Greater PA are you? Greater Philadelphia.
Outside of Philadelphia, west of Philadelphia.
Okay, all right, good. How's the market?
It's just, it has slowed down. I don't, we're not seeing the same kind of things that a lot of other markets have, like, massive price reductions and things like that. But it's definitely slowed down. Things are taking a little bit longer to sell, but I'm still seeing, not often, but I am still seeing way over asking. I saw a house last week on the hot sheet that sold for like 100,000 over.
Whoa, wow.
I know. So we've always been a little bit insulated in this area for whatever reason. So like when the Great Recession hit back in 2008, we just didn't have, Pat, you can attest to this. We didn't feel the same crunch that most of the nation did, or just it wasn't as bad.
Right.
Do you guys have a lot of industries moving into the area? What do you what would you say help that?
Old money.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Been here for a long time, colleges, universities, technology, pharmaceuticals, big city.
Okay. So is it generational where people live there, the kids go to school there, they stay there, and then yeah.
Some do, some don't. Yeah, but a lot do. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I'll tell you a story about when my son was in kindergarten at a boys' school, and one of the moms said to me, "Oh, we're third generation. What are you?" I was like, first. Okay, it's all right.
Generation, yeah. Cool, yeah. So let's see who else. Steve Matterson. Steve Mayer. What am I? Matter. Look, I might need to take my glasses off. Steve Matter, how's your market?
My market is hang on a second. Sorry, I got a puppy all over me here. It's similar. We're not seeing prices going over asking nearly as much now. Almost appraisal gaps are a thing of the past in our area. But it's the messy middle. I think I've heard it referred to, where sellers still looking at what the neighbor sold for a few months ago, and they think that's what they can get.
Yeah.
So that's, and then of course the buyers aren't willing to pay that. So everybody's figuring that out.
Right. Yeah.
It's our job, obviously, to guide them. And I don't think that everyone's doing a good job of doing that.
Yeah.
So trying to be better at that than some of the others. And,
right. And I will tell you, it's not a script. It's all, you push play and it's like, look, this is not January, February, March. This is not first quarter.
Right.
Everything changed May 26th. Right. And is because I usually say, do you know what happened in May? And they said interest rates went up. And then I kind of break it down. Yeah. I'm like, listen, if you were approved to buy, let's say, a $400,000 house, right? And your payments are $1,200. Guess what? It just went up $500 more on average. So it's $1,700. So I said, how would that affect you if all of a sudden you're hit with an extra $500 and you really have your heart set on that $400,000 house? And you really don't want a 285 or 300 if we can push it. And then it kind of makes sense to them. Yeah, when you break it down like that, like here's what's happening to the buyers. Remember, the buyers' money was so cheap to borrow. And the buyers would just go grab a house and go, you know what, I'll paint it myself, I'll do whatever.
Right.
But now there's not that extra money to do that. Yeah. So different market, different conversation, right? And James McQueen is down in Destin, Florida, where he's got vacationers all year long. So how's your market, James?
Right now it's slowing down a little bit. However, we're still moving. We're still moving, but it is. I can tell the difference. Our rental and investment properties are sitting on the market a lot longer, you know. So still seeing how it's panning out.
Yeah. So is it a good time for me to come get that beach house, or should I wait a little bit?
Well, I would tell anybody else it's always a good time, but I'm gonna tell you, we gonna wait just a little while longer, Author A.
Yeah.
I give you that thumbs up.
Okay, cool. Because you know where I am in East Marietta.
Mhm.
When you go with school break, that's where they all are in Destin.
Mhm.
Everybody from your elementary school is in Destin.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, MA, if you could rename yourself so we know who you are, that would be fantastic. And Dan is, hey, Dan, it's 11:03, buds. And now we're going to give Dan some grace today because he is expecting some rain. And we're glad it's just rain. So Dan, do you want to bring the others up to speed?
Yes, absolutely. I'm sorry. Let me just fill you in on. So just a kind of quick update. If I lose connection, please know that I'll do my best to come on. And Arthurine is my wingman. I don't know what you want to call yourself officially.
Wingman is good.
Wingman, my wingman today, because we
Yeah.
have hurricane bands coming through. The worst of it is really to the south of us. I'm in Tampa Bay, and about an hour south of us from like Sarasota down to about 2.5 hours from us down toward Bonita Springs, where a number of people from our PIP community got together for a part of our South Florida regional mastermind about a week and a half ago. That's where people, I'm sorry, I have my phone. Let me just turn that off right now.
Same.
And a lot of us were down in Bonita Springs, and that's kind of like the other side of where the storm's coming through, and it's pretty intense. You probably all heard and know. So for us, it was originally planning going to come through Tampa Bay. It shifted yesterday. We're really fortunate, but of course that means that now it's our responsibility to reach out to those folks down there and just make sure that they get through this okay. So we'll talk about that at the end.
All right.
So you guys ready to talk a little bit about doing more with less and preparing for how to do that in the shift?
All right, guys,
Yes.
let me welcome everybody. My name is Authorine, and Dan, I have the pleasure of being Dan's wingman today. I am in Atlanta, Georgia. I am in Marietta, which is northeast, about 30 minutes, depending on who's driving, maybe 20 minutes for me. And so this is our training session. We usually do trainings on Mondays and on Wednesdays. And when I think I have something great that I can share with my pivot community, I always do so. So thank you so very much. I am so thrilled to have Dan with us today. So Dan, take it away.
All right, so folks, I'm really honored to be here. Arthurine, it's always an honor to just help out in any way across the country. And this is my first time teaching this material, although I've gone through it many times. And so I hope that what I share with you as a value will take probably about 45 minutes to go through the material. And I hope to have it be interactive, because I find that the most value comes from the interaction. I wanted to ask everyone that can do this to follow Pat and James, Arthurine and Lori's lead, and just go ahead and get yourself on video. So that we can see you and just kind of participate with you in the chat. Feel free to chat, put comments down. And my whole goal here is to, again, really facilitate a discussion based on everything that's in the pivot shift, not the pivot shift, but the KWU teaching and learning material that's on KW Connect. And Arthurine, when you get a moment, could you give me screen share access if you haven't already? And then could you put the material as an attachment in the chat? I'm
Okay,
gonna go over.
you are the host, yeah.
All right,
And
thank
you
you.
know what? I might have to take it back so I can put it as an attachment.
All right, I'll see if I can.
Do you have it? You
Co-host.
can put it in the chat, the attachment? Because I no longer have that access because you have it.
Yeah, let's see if I can do that. And if I can't do it right now, I'll do it before we wrap up, okay?
Okay, great.
Yeah, I don't know that everyone needs this right now to go through it, but it's just gonna be something that you might choose to go through later on, just so that you get just a refresher, you know, to a place where you can kind of come back to it. If you miss something in your notes, it'll help be a guide for you. So my name is Dan Tumarkin. I'm down in Tampa Bay. I know many of the people on the call, but not everyone. One of the things that the folks on the call know me for is for my involvement with the Pivot Shift community and for my family. I have 5 girls, married to this amazing woman for I just realized recently that we started dating almost 30 years ago was when we first started dating. It's been a while. We've been married for about 27 now. And you know, I'm just fortunate to have a really good team here. And what we're going to be talking about is a little bit about leverage and doing more with less. And one of the things that we're going to talk about is just that in a shift, that when you have to, and I'm going to look down to the side of me here, periodically. I have some notes here to the left and to the right. But when there's a market shift, you need to shift. And that's what we're going to talk about right now, and shifting with leverage. How many of the folks here, if you would in the chat, are single agents? How many of you have administrative help, and how many of you have a team with additional agents on there? I just want to get a sense for the group. All right, single with admin, solo, single with admin, single with TC. All right, great. Is there anyone else that has other agents working with them on the team, or it looks like we're talking about level 1 and level 2 teams right now for the most part? Maybe level 3 teams. Okay. All right, fantastic. So this is going to be really important to you, and it just helps me get a sense of like which part of the conversation I'd like to maybe put a little more time in so that it's relevant to all of you. So I'm going to share my screen here. Can you see that? Let me know when you see that. Okay, again, the head nods, thank you. And this is what we're going to be talking about. It's about effective people leverage and working with the right people the right ways, and making sure that we make the most of that. And the main ideas, the main concepts we'll be talking about are going to be these, and we'll kind of, jump to a couple different ones. We're going to talk about the perspective on effective people leverage, and just kind of ask this question: where do you have leverage? Where do you not have leverage? Where do you need leverage? Where can you leverage the leverage you have? And how do you acquire talent? You're going to take stock of what you've got, focus on doing the right things, which kind of comes back to some systems, and then just kind of a quick summary, and then a quick action plan, and with ahas at the end, and last like probably 5 or 10 minutes. Is there anything else that anyone wants to cover here? And Arthurine, I don't see the chat as I'm talking to you from the screen. So if there's anything that comes up in the chat that needs, that you'd like to address or want me to address, please go ahead and let me know.
I will.
Okay. Is there anything else that we need to add to this action plan for today, or the topics for today? Any questions that come up? And if something catches your mind and you don't feel like it's appropriate to just kind of bring it up in the moment, go ahead and put it in the chat, and Arthurine, if you can kind of help keep tabs of that, and we'll come back to that and just kind of clear things out. Okay. All right, guys, let's get going. So perspective on people leverage. So when we talk about people leverage, we have, this concept of power and of leverage, and leverage really amounts to who's going to do it, how's it going to get done, and what will they use to do it. So we talk about leverage through people, systems, and tools. And we know that the high achievers know all 3 forms of leverage, and they use it correctly to get the most out of the time. Individually, we can't do it all. We've heard that many people make work light, and each one of these, they call it leverage because it's like a lever. You can lift a 500 pound boulder if you have a long enough pole and you position that focal point at the right spot on there, so that you can really just leverage yourself to get the work done. We're applying the same things. We're going to look at how we can leverage people to help magnify us. How can we leverage systems and tools to do the same thing? And that's kind of the group. And then, especially in this changing market, what does that look like? So, the question is, how do you know when it's time, or one of the first questions you're going to ask is, how do you know when it's time to add people leverage? We're going to talk about that in a couple different ways, but that's just something I just want you to kind of keep in the back of your mind. Do you have any questions about this part specifically, about people leverage? What questions come to mind? Especially for solo agents.
And you guys can put your hands up and Dan will see it and call on you. But for me, this has always been the question. And I think adding admin support, you should do it as early as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Because most of us wait way too long, which slows us down. Yeah.
And I'm glad you said that, Arthurine, because in the book, Gary wrote about how we add assistants first, and then we add assistants second. So maybe assistance comes in the form of part-time help, or assistance comes in the form of, a family member, or, a college or high school age kid that's, between semesters, or between, transitioning between work and school, or maybe assistance comes in the form of a virtual assistant, or a TC that you can hire for an individual transaction before you find and hire your assistant, which is a higher level commitment. Pat, do you have something else to add around that?
One thing I just went back to was going back to hiring the virtual assistant that I've used in the past, because I realize that I have let certain things go, and she's good at that. So I just reached out to her again and saying, hey, I need your help with this. So.
And Pat, at this point, do you currently have an assistant, or are you running solo right now?
No, I'm running solo, but I have a VA, which I use sporadically. She does mostly like mailings and stuff like that. She's really good at the technology stuff that I could do, but it's so much easier to just send her an email and say, could you do this? And yep, I got it. And in fact, when I said, hey, there's a postcard I'd like you to design for me, and here's the idea, she's like, okay, I've got that one we did before and I can use that. So it's great.
And so, Pat, just for the benefit of the folks that have never had an assistant, how did you know when you needed an assistant? How did you decide?
When I wanted to do certain things and I never got around to it. That the pastor always talks about around to it. There is no round to it. And many, many years ago, I heard a national speaker who has since retired talk about virtual assistants. And I probably hired my first one 25 years ago. She was in Ohio, and she taught me more about how to do, stuff and did it for me. So you can have an assistant do something as simple as do your postcards. If you use command, then they need to understand command. If you use something else, then they go and learn it themselves.
And Pat, you talked about something we'll get to a little bit later about hiring talent and finding the right person and top grading. Before you got there though, what was your biggest fear about finding someone to hire someone? And then how did you overcome that fear? So
I knew that help was available, but I'm pretty A-type, and so how are they going to do a good job? And then when I worked for a different company then, and we had a big, thing. We went away and had a speaker, and that speaker was talking about virtual assistants. And so I valued what he said. And I actually reached out to someone who turned out to be his financial assistant.
Mhm.
And then
So,
we realized that you can hire somebody for a job, for one job, but you don't have to hire them for the second one if it doesn't work out.
okay, so you just knew that you were only so committed. You were kind of taking like baby steps and
Yep.
you try. It's kind of like doing the 30, 60, 90 or
Yep.
doing, just a
Exactly.
commitment
Yep.
incrementally. So,
Yep.
so one success here, you held that account, that money, that expense, that commitment accountable to a result. If you got the result you wanted, great. If you didn't, then you went on to plan B or another
Yep.
person.
Yep. And my first VA, we got to a point where the market was really bad and I could not afford to do it anymore. And I was just able to say to her, I'm really sorry. This is something I'm going to have to take out of my budget. And she said, I understand. I get it.
And I'm glad you pointed that out because I was going to jump back to the book for a second. Does and Arthur, I need your help to kind of get feedback on this. How many people have their shift book handy with them? They're kind of accessible to them.
Me.
Okay, see 2 people.
Yeah.
Got it.
Is that most people have it there? So, but Pat, you just talked about, it was on page 42 about the 7 steps to talent shift.
Mhm.
And how to deal with talent in a shift and how to just deal with, hey, things are changing. That the basically the oceans that I went on this journey with you have gotten a little rough, and how we have to navigate those oceans. And it takes you through a 7-step process to manage that conversation with your team. So if you have an assistant and you have a team, page 42 would be where I would kind of direct everyone there to come back to. And if you don't have a team, this might be something that would be good to know, because this is probably the conversation that you're going to want to have with people that you're looking to possibly bring on as assistants before you bring them on as an assistant. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. So just kind of moving along, I'm going to kind of skip over to this. Here's just to help people out. And you'll get this attachment a little later. On this next slide, you should see a process that Gary shared with us on how to make a decision on whether you need people or what the process is to go through and finding people and hiring people and deciding whether you need people on your team. And
Excuse me, Dan.
yes.
Excuse me, sweetie. Can you hide expand the slide you're on now, hide the other side?
Let me see if I can do that. Yeah, let me see if I can make this bigger. Is that a little bit easier to read?
Now, Dan, all you have to do, go to the bottom of your screen where it's white, and you see where there looks like a little TV monitor.
Oh, you know what that's probably going to do is probably going to put me on slide view only, and I just wanted to be able to track the.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, okay.
Make this
I
a little
gotcha.
smaller, make that a little bit bigger. Does that help a little bit? Marianne, does that help?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thanks. Sorry, I muted again.
Okay. All right. So there's a decision tree here that Gary put together for you. Again, if you want to do a screenshot of that so you have that for yourself, it's a KW document. And again, you'll receive this. I don't want to take too much time to go through it, but basically it asks, do you have people to help you? And if you do you have enough people? And if you do you have the right people? And if they do, are they doing the right things? And are they doing the right things well? And then just how to manage and hold people accountable, and just kind of go through that process. And then when the answer is no, eventually the ultimate response is you just kind of need to upgrade or top grade or improve your systems or the people you're working with. So again, this is just a kind of another action item that some people might want to sit down with and work through this with your own team, and as you think about your business, to think about areas to improve on or focus on. Any questions about this so far? All good?
Yeah, Dan, this was really helpful to me as I was going through the slides, because I don't know if I've seen this one before. So that was really helpful to me.
Good.
As I'm thinking of adding other pieces on.
Good. All right, so let me just kind of come back to this. And this slide, I think, will be a helpful homework item for people to when we get back to this at the end. Okay, and just so you know, it's slide number 9 if you want to jot that down. Okay, Marianne, did you have a question or?
You did it. Thanks.
Okay. All right, great. So let me just make this a little bit smaller so that it fits the entire screen at least. Actually, let me just do things a little differently here. See if I can change my screen so that it. Okay. So, the team concept really is about starting thinking of yourself as a team, not just as people that you employ, but as a larger circle of people that can help you achieve your goals. Again, that's really about getting buy-in and getting everyone on the same page. And then, another way of thinking about your team is, the list of people that, we often forget about that's part of your team. This is kind of comes back to that point of like maybe the family members, the kids, the neighbors, they can help you out. This would include maybe other agents that have skill sets that, help complement your own skill sets that you can kind of work with and leverage with one another. Vendors and employees, business leaders, and other service providers, just so that you kind of start thinking about who your team consists of. That was the whole point there. So, we've got leverage, right? And we talk a little bit more about, let me slide this down. Leverage through your allied resources. Every day we come into contact with people who, you consider your allied resources. These people can help build, sustain, and improve your business. When you think about your allied resources, can someone share with us an example of someone who you have as an allied resource that would be a really good model to share with others here on the call? Like who's doing a really good job as an advocate for you? Arthurine?
My loan officer.
How are they doing a good job for you?
In this market, with people backing out and just listening to the news, when I refer them to my loan officer, and I have 2, my loan officer is able to bring perspective and talk about other options, such as a 2-1 buy down, right? So the rate is about 7 today. With a 2-1 buy down, they could start out with a 5% interest rate and talk about other ways of getting, some down payment assistance money if that's what they need. So for me right now, my loan officers are key and extremely valuable.
What's another example from that you have or someone else has as someone is currently a fantastic allied resource or who's been a fantastic allied resource in the past?
Closing attorney.
Closing attorney, okay.
Mhm.
All right. Absolutely. And again, with the closing attorney, Arthurine, just how have they shown up in your life to make that possible for you?
Title work. So here in Atlanta, our closing attorney does the title work. And there are times when I'm not sure about a specific listing. So even before I take that listing, I'll reach out to my closing attorney's office for them to run title so we can see how many liens are on that property, which helps me have a conversation with the owners, which helps us to price it better.
Would you agree that, I'll come back to you, Marianne, in just a second. Would you agree that even our pivot shift community, what an amazing allied resource we have? I mean, we have these agents that you can, contact, that have them share information with you. Ellie has shared plans with you.
Yeah.
They've sent referrals to you. I mean, what a fantastic allied resource our community is. And by pouring into it, the more you pour into it, the more you get out of it. I think that anyone that's really been involved with it would say that. Louise would say that I think most of her leads or most of her listings this year have been agent to agent, and she does the birthday event at a really high level and pours into that at a really high level. Marianne, what were you going to add?
Well, you kind of grabbed it there. I was going to follow up also with Arthurine. I'm also in Georgia, outside Atlanta, and in Georgia we're an attorney state. So our attorneys, we only need the one, versus in other states, each side gets attorneys, et cetera. And having them having the relationships with the closing attorneys to be able to have them pull title, check on title, especially in this day of a lot of estates. There's been more deaths in the past couple of years than there had been over the previous, say, 5 years or so. They kind of happened a lot. And for a lot of our estate work, there's a lot of estate attorneys out there that just are not getting the job done, to be perfectly honest. And if that's not happening, we need to know right away. So just determining, as Authorine said, determining whether or not we're going to be able to take that listing at that date, time, and amount that the seller or who the seller thinks they are, getting to the closing table has never been more important.
Mhm.
It's never been more important to have our attorneys. And then to add to that, like you said, Dan, our pivot community, even this Zoom today, Authorine and Dan, you two rock. You're so amazing. And you share and you help educate, and it's easy, quote unquote. All we have to do is pick up the phone, the text, or the email and say, hey, will you help me? And there's someone there to help. We have to be willing to ask. Oh, I have to do that, right? Okay.
Yeah, so it's, and especially in a shifting market, it's hugely important to have camaraderie with people that are like-minded, that are going to support you both emotionally and you know, in some cases financially as well, and with tools and systems that they can share, which is amazing. And the beauty also of this pivot shift community is that for folks that feel a little guarded because maybe they don't, you know, they don't see the world as big as it can be, you know, to know that maybe you're sharing with someone that's outside of your market completely, where there's no inherent competition. You know, people tend to feel sometimes that they can share a little more freely than someone that's, you know, they feel might be on a listing appointment competing against them for the same listing in the same market center. So it brings a little more freedom for people to be able to share very freely through that. So let's move on to the next thing. So we talked a little bit about people leverage. I was going to mention here, you know, you want to subcontract your way up. And this kind of comes back to the point of, you know, before you find an assistant, you might want to find assistants through different sources. And then I'm going to skip down here to slide number 23, where we're going to transition a little bit to take stock about what you got. So taking stock of what you've got. And the first question is, you know, do you have the right people? So this kind of comes back to that previous slide with the decision tree. And just so you know, Authorine, I only see the last person that spoke on my screen right now. So if anyone has a question or wants to add, I can't really get a lot of feedback from people right now, just so that I can see the screen. Just again, chime in if you see anything or see that there's a question or anything that needs to be brought up. So, you know, do you have the right people? You know, these are the essential attributes in employees, subcontractors, and allied resources. You know, do they have you know, do you have people that you're working with that you know have the right strong work ethic? Do they have a resilient attitude? Are they going to be tough, and do they have the grit to get through things? Are they trainable and into mastery? And are they willing to follow your systems and follow your systems and approach to getting business done? So this, I think, is probably a good place to just pause again and have a discussion. When you think about your business and the people that you have in your business, like on a scale of 1 to 10, and maybe we can do this in the chat, is on a scale of 1 to 10, to what extent do you feel like you have the right people in terms of like that the people you're working with have a strong work ethic?
Go ahead and raise your hand.
I see it pretty much. I didn't know if I didn't see any responses in here. I'm just trying to catch up to everyone.
Yeah, you guys, you can go ahead and raise your hand so he can see it. Pat was saying 10. James, what do you mean by 10? Can you elaborate, James?
So actually right now I just hired a new directors of operations. So we're 1 week in. However, to me right now, and it's a lot of, I've had a couple different assistants, okay, and for whatever reason, it didn't move the needle the way that I needed it to be moved. So I definitely had to look at it a different way. And now I have someone who is pretty much the opposite of me as far as getting things done, like the organization that I didn't have, I got now. You know what I mean? And it's like those things that I needed to put in certain systems, I have that now. It's not just me out here. But now my thing is finding what is the right way to how should I put this? What's the right way to split up with the things that need to be done. So my thing is I never want to come in and have to task. I want to be the one who's tasked, and that's what I'm getting right now. And like I said, we're in a weekend, but definitely that's why I give that to you.
Yeah. So what I would suggest here on this, James, for you and for others, is that maybe part of the exercise that you do when you go back and look at your people is kind of score them, as you see them, on a scale of 1 to 10, how strong is their work ethic? Do they seem to be really resilient? Are they trainable? And are they into mastery? And are they willing to stay on board, follow instructions, and stay, within the boundaries of your systems and processes? And if they score a 40, I mean, you're perfect with them. If they're scoring, a 20, then you go through that chart and they'll tell you, well, is it really the systems that they're using that's causing them to not show up the way you'd like them to? Is it a trainability issue? What's the process? And again, that one spreadsheet or that one decision tree will help guide you down the path of how to best guide you to guide them going forward. All right, so let's go on to the next slide here real quickly. Again, with regard to having the right people, think about the people you have on your team, the leverage in your life and the goals you have for your business. So, what do you want and what do you have now, and kind of how do you fill that gap? I think there's another part to this here. There are a couple more questions here. Let me just make this a little smaller so you can see it. Who would you replace if you had a better resource? And that's kind of a tough, kind of heavy question for a lot of people. And we'll come back to that in a couple more slides on that part of it. Is there anyone that's had to replace anyone on their team and was afraid to? Or wasn't sure how to go about doing it?
Yes, and I took, like Gary said, we usually take way too long.
Yeah.
Way too long, because I was really concerned for that person, but at the same time, my needs and for my business wasn't being fulfilled. And I was making an emotional decision, and I actually talked to James about it. And James asked one powerful question, like, what is that person doing working for you? And that was enough for me.
I'm sorry, what was the question again?
What is that person doing working for you? Because I told him, I said, there has been no ROI in 6 months. And he said, what is that person doing working for you? And I was like, great question.
Yeah, and right here again, I'm kind of flipping back to the shift book, page 44. If you're stuck here again, Arthurine, page 44. If you must follow a process, once you've made a decision to part company, move quickly but be respectful. And he talks a little bit about the importance of, you hire with one expectation, and you have to maintain like a certain the dignity as you're, if you're making a change. And it's not about the person, it's about the results ultimately. Because if they were giving you the results, you'd probably keep them. And the results just aren't there. And that's, ultimately what we need to do is just be mindful of everything, not just the people, but the expenses that we have, and are we getting the results from those expenses that we have.
It's funny because I read that last night and highlighted about firing with dignity. Yeah.
In light of what you said, I'm not surprised to hear that kind of resonated for you.
Yeah.
So let me keep on moving along here.
Janet had her hands up.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Janet. I can see that. Janet? Janet, you're still there? You're muted, I think, if you are.
It looks like she might have stepped away. She's off video.
Okay, all right. All right, so hopefully she's okay there. And I'll come back to Janet at the end. Let's make myself a note here. All right, so now focusing on the right things. And this we're going to change transition here and focus on doing the right things. In a shift, more than ever, it's critical because we don't have time to waste to focus on doing the right things and focusing on the 20% that matters the most, and in some cases, just saying no to the 80% that may have our attention. And sometimes it's hard not to jump to. Yet we have to form a discipline or create a discipline around that, and maybe the discipline comes around systems that we create. So, are your people doing the right things? And this really starts with you. I'm going to come back to the book here for a second, and hopefully I can find this real quickly. And I think I know exactly where it is. And this is on page 39, where Gary wrote, "People begins with you. So before you look at others, take an honest look at yourself. Are you maximizing your own productivity? Are you doing what matters most? Are you doing what you get paid to do?" So before you start looking at other people, that's really where it starts, is with you. And if the answer is yes, great. If the answer is no, that's where, having a coach or someone else that can help hold you accountable to the priorities will help guide you. And then once you know what those priorities are, again, just removing distractions, because it's, again, easy to start getting caught up, or, we very easily get caught up in things that we shouldn't be doing. And if you have any doubt about what those things that we should be doing, is on page 38. And we covered this in Shift just the other day. Was Gary wrote about the six core business competencies of six core competencies of a business. So in the chat, can you tell me what those six core competencies are that Gary wrote down here? And they're going to be a little different from what we learn in bold. I just realized why I wasn't seeing everyone's messages. There we go. Thanks, Marianne. So number one is capture or lead generate, capture and convert those appointments. Great. Second one is present to buyers and get agreements on contracts. Third one is to show buyers and market sellers. The fourth one is to write, negotiate contracts. The fifth one is to coordinate the sale to the closing. And the sixth one, which is one that we forget, which I'm glad you put the exclamation points behind, is manage the money. I don't know who did that, but I see everyone put manage the money with exclamation points. And that's a huge part that is especially critical in a shift. And it's something that we really struggle with, I think, the most. If I was going to add a seventh one on there, my own personal seventh one would be to practice and role play to develop mastery every day. And it'll make things a lot easier, which I'm guessing that everyone would agree that if you could be much more efficient with your conversations and deliver convincing objection handlers to people, that you would be able to get more business done faster with less effort, and therefore be more efficient also. So that would be a number 7 that I would definitely add, is to practice and role play every day, for sure. All right, guys. So let me just plug along here and get back to where I wanted to move to next is, are you doing the right things and getting back in the game? And I'm not, basically, again, are you doing the right thing? And just kind of get back in the game. And then the things to do to focus on on getting back in the game is to, train and coach people to do the right things and have them do it well. This is the time to be a great leader versus just being a boss, and to empower your people and give them very clear goals and instructions. How many times do you feel like if you knew exactly what to do, that it's really a clarity issue, that you just needed a plan? And how much of the time is really more that you just need someone to keep you on point with a plan that would really make the difference? I'm looking for some participation here, guys.
Yes. Agree.
So is the
I know what I want to do. I know what I want done. I know what needs to happen. And then I get caught up in it's got to be perfect. It's got to be right. And so I end up not doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
And how can I have assistance
Mm-hmm.
from an assistant,
Mm-hmm.
either or both, if I'm not doing the right thing?
Mm-hmm. When that happens, Marianne, do you think that if you had just said to yourself something like, what would James do? What would Gary do? What would Ellie McIntyre do? I'm thinking of like
what would Donna Gilbert
D.
do?
What would Donna Gilbert do? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thinking of the high D's, in our circle. Would that help you overcome that challenge? Like get beyond that, perfection is it doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to get done.
Sometimes, and yes, and then other times scares the wits out of me because they're them.
I get it. I get it. What are other tips that others can share that would help Marianne and me and others in the call, get over that, hesitations, things like get over the distractions and self-limiting conversations that we have that would allow us to get things done?
Get out of your own way and just go start. Just start.
Uh-huh. And another thought that just came to mind was, I forgot which book I read this in. I think maybe it was in, actually I have it right here, the 12-week year, is I saw some language in here or something about, just do it. And just that just do it mentality. And it doesn't, again, better done is better than perfect, is always better than perfect. And at some point you just have to give yourself a deadline and just say that's good enough and we're going to move forward with it. And I think of people that, again, Ellie McIntyre for me is a perfect example of that. She just gets it done. I don't know how she does it all, but she does it all at a really high level. And it's not perfect all the time, but she's learning and progressing all the time. Any other questions?
It kind of makes me, I'm sorry, Pat.
No,
it kind of makes me think about how they say, all press is good press. So, even as long as you get it out, what I'm saying, we can work on it the next time to make it better. So I say you can't do anything twice until you do it once. So you do it the first time and then you make it better. And then as you keep making it better, you keep expounding on what you've done, but it's actually getting done instead of sitting there waiting for it to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Makes me think of the book Finish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just be done.
Yeah.
Just be done. Move on.
And definitely for folks that are planners, we have people that, and James has talked about this before, we have people that have two tendencies. We have people that like to plan more and then do later. And then you have people that just do first and then they figure out maybe I should have planned, and how if we're natural doers that maybe we need to plan a little bit so we'll be a little more efficient. And if we're natural planners, then we need to just focus on getting it done. So depending upon where you're on that spectrum, just recognize what that natural tendency is and then work on the other side of that to have that balance or that becomes your lever, a little leverage that you get. So moving along here, focus on doing the right things. A word about in systems and tools and doing the right things is that systems is about how you get the job done and tools is about what you use to get the job done. And the technology is really the ultimate goal is in adding technology to your business is to set higher standards of production for yourself and your staff So what are ways in which you can use like built-in leverage or create leverage that maybe you don't have right now easily using some systems and tools to get the job done? So what are some simple systems that you don't have that you think you wish you had? Or what are some simple systems that you are familiar with that you just need to start using? And same thing with tools. Like what are some simple ways that you can leverage your business right now?
So I'm using Command on my phone.
Mhm.
One of the coolest things is that I learned a couple weeks ago that I can go into Command, pick up somebody's name, and there are 3 little dots, and they can automatically add them to my phone. They put their number in my phone.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, that was useful, helpful,
Mm-hmm.
but lots of things that are much more valuable. But it's that thing that makes you go, ooh.
And Marianne, what's another thing I see you raise your hand? What's another tool or system that you could use right now and implement this week that'll give you leverage?
Getting to follow up just quickly on Pat, also when making the calls from Command from the phone, you are automatically, you're asked, do you want to record, do you want to make a note of this conversation?
Mm-hmm.
So you're not losing the thought process, and you're able to get those notes in there quickly if you so desire. So Command keeps getting better and better, and a tool that or a system, and it adds a tool, the system of adding the tags to each of our contacts in Command or whatever CRM you're using, to make the weekly phone calls, to handle the anniversaries, all the different things that those are systems, and the tool Command or other CRM. Would that be correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those are really helpful. Pat, I get scared about adding them to my phone because I just got rid of a whole bunch of duplicates and triplicates. But for the new ones, it's really good.
Are there any others, like, just I want to hear from a few others, are there any other tools or systems that people can implement and start using today that you think would give them instant leverage, make their life easier, more efficient, and ultimately allow you to talk to more people in the same or less amount of time?
I don't have a new system, but I realize I have to use the systems that we have already effectively, and that is Command. I'm not using it the way I should.
Okay. And what would be the I guess first thing that you could do when we're done? Because one of the things I want to work on or talk about is action items in the last 5 minutes, or well, within the next 5 minutes, about things that you can do to put into effect once we're done, so that you can start benefiting from that leverage this week.
Is that a question to me?
Yes, Grace.
I think I need to be doing what I should have done a long time ago, is just making sure I'm adding people immediately. So set myself a task of adding a certain number of people to Command every day, and instantly put the update when I have a call or a conversation to follow up, so it comes in my task. I'm not doing it. I'm just doing random things.
And so, I think at the end of the day, the bottom line of what we've gone over is just that we have leverage in a shift. We need to change, and we need to shift, and we need to do more with less, because we're going to need, in some cases, to cut expenses. We have a lot of great tools. The things that we have available through Command are amazing. The use of tasks, the task list is a huge tool. The use of the DTD2 approach to following up with people is a fantastic, simple system. And depending upon where you're finding your leads, your biggest challenge is either talking to enough people to find leads, or it's being really good with the leads that you have and just working to convert those things. It's usually an issue of numbers, the quantity, and then the conversion. And if you're dealing with, if most of your leads, most of your business comes from Sphere and Mets, you know that most of those people that know you, like you, trust you, once you find them, they're going to work with you. So it's not a conversion issue, it's a quantity issue. So how do you maximize the quantity of those leads? And is that through Facebook posts, or is that through, other, avenues of communication? If you're working with FSBOs and expireds, you know that everyone you're talking to is a lead, because you know that they put their house on the market because they're planning on buying, selling, or investing. They, it fell out as an expired because they were looking to sell and they were looking to move somewhere. So, all of those people are leads. So that's not the issue. Is like, are they looking to make a move? The issue there is conversion. So that's where, again, the seventh thing that I put up there as part of your job is really important, to master your scripts and conversations and practice your dialogues so that you can get that conversion from that lead to an appointment, because it's the conversion part that's the biggest challenge. Or maybe the biggest challenge with the conversion part is the speed to the lead, like on internet leads, where you really, everyone that calls you or reaches out to you on an internet site is, again, interested in buying, selling, or investing. But if you're the third person or fifth person or 10th person to call them, you'll never get it. You have to get there really quickly, and you have to have a good, compelling reason for them to use you. So bottom line is that we have to look at where these inefficiencies are with relation to our own unique business, and focus on the 20% that's going to give you the 80% of the results. We've heard this all the time. And that's another way, or another reason why it's so important, especially in a shifting market, to do that. As we wrap up, though, this is the most important thing to me right now: is what's your action plan, and what are the things that you need to focus on? And what I wanted to ask is for people to please go ahead and share what your action plan on page 53 through 57 of the guide that's in the KW Connect, the course page, course material. You'll find an action plan. However, a simple action
Anna,
plan.
I put that up a notch, but I don't know if I did it right.
I'm sorry, what was that, Miriam?
Sorry,
Were you talking to us, or were you talking to someone in the room? Okay, all right,
sorry.
that's okay. So really the most important thing to me right now is that we've ideally have identified things that we need to do, and what's your action plan this week? What can you put on your, what's going to be part of your 20% that you need to focus on that'll make a huge difference for you this week, and then coming back to, I think it was slide number 9. I said, let me find it. Is this really where you need to focus? Is it on maybe going through and looking at both your people and resources and just asking these questions? And maybe that's the first step that you're going to take to guide you. Because once you know that, for example, if you don't have the right people, then this is your next step right here. If they're the right people and they're not doing the right things, then we need to kind of examine whether they're in the right roles or whether they need to be coached. So this might be a really good tool to start with. So what are some tangible action plans? I just wanted to ask everyone, what are some tangible steps that you can do or that you're going to implement based on what we covered today to make your business not just survive but thrive here during this shift?
Tagging your database with DTD2 if you haven't already.
All right, great. And do you mind, Stephen, if I stay with you for a moment?
Sure.
Okay. Do you know how to do that?
I do.
Do you know when is there anything that will keep you from doing that or getting started today?
No, so to be straight, mine is done. I've got to do the calling. Yeah, so
Okay.
I do have mine done and it's organized. I just, I get there to do that and I find all kinds of reasons not to do it. All kinds of distractions. I give into that a lot.
Okay, so
Probably a different topic.
Not making the calls. Okay, all right. What would be the first thing that you could do? And I want people to please help out Stephen with some suggestions. that would help Stephen out with the DTD2 calls? Like what's something that Stephen could do to help make the DTD2 calls easier? Is this okay, Stephen, that we stay here with you?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm wondering if, Pat mentioned the app, and I haven't looked at the app a whole bunch, the actual command app. So I wonder if doing it from there might, for some reason, make it more direct or more simplified for me.
Stephen, when you have a hesitation around calling, is it because you don't know what to say, or is it because you're like kind of nervous about rejection, or
I wish I knew. It's probably rejection. I mean, I do all the script calls, and I feel okay there for the most part, although it is different when it's a live human versus the
Would
staged.
your DTD2 calls, would they typically be to people you know or people that you don't know? Are they Mets or not
Mostly
Mets?
that I know, but
No,
some that
no.
I haven't talked to in a long time, and I struggle around that.
Okay. So if we were going to have a conversation and you were going to call me and it's been a while since we talked, what would keep you from just saying, hey, it's been a while, how are you doing? And just do a simple forward conversation.
Yeah, and just, you mean stay off of business unless they take it there?
Or stay off of, start with the relationship and then, hey, by the way, it's been a while, or what, it's kind of a natural thing. Hey, what you been up to? I've been doing, I've been traveling. Yeah, I've been working. It's been really busy. Yeah, it's just, and then that naturally flows into that conversation about real estate.
Sure.
And then, and then it could be, so out of curiosity, you think you're in your forever home? The answer is
Okay.
probably going to be no.
No, nothing. That's good. And I have when I go to forward, I tend to talk more than I should. So then I get into 30-minute conversations, which isn't good for the the 20 call attempt. But
so it sounds like really the hesitation might be not knowing exactly what to say, how to get into and out of the conversation.
Out of is probably there. I think you hit it there.
Yeah. So Stephen, here's something that I'd like to do for you when we're done is I'm gonna put my phone number in the chat, and I'd like to invite you to do role play with me later on, or just have a conversation with me. We can practice some of this so you can get onto that. Is that okay?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
Cool. All right. You have my phone number in the chat in a second.
Thank you. And I do get your email about that, but I have not gotten involved yet. So.
All right. So we're gonna help you out with that, okay? Because I find I have like inherent pleasure. Like when I hear that James has like accomplished some great things that he's been working on, or that Miriam says, oh my gosh, yeah, this was a challenge and now I'm doing this. It gives me like great pleasure. It's like James Shaw says that, like the greatest compliment is just to implement the things that comes up, because it's rewarding. It's inherently fulfilling. So for me, it's very inherently fulfilling to hear other people have success, and it would mean the same thing for me to hear, Steve, that this used to be a problem, and I have fun phone calls. I used to be like you. I was the person that would sit when we do group calls, so that as soon as someone picked up the phone, I could duck out into the hallway because I wanted anyone to hear how awful my conversation was.
Right.
Because I was self-conscious. I wanted to look good, be right, and that was just me. And honestly, the part that I enjoy the most about the business today is the phone calls. I really do enjoy that. To me, it's become something that's kind of fun for me. I enjoy the conversations, the relationships that come out of it. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. Is there someone else that would be willing to like Stephen did, just allow me to whether it's coach you or give you hopefully some good advice, or help have the rest of the group pour into you with some advice? What's the first thing that you could do in your action plan? Like, what do you need to focus on, and what could you do this week or this afternoon to make a huge difference, get leverage in your business? And we'll wrap up in the next minute. Stephen, by the way, thanks for letting me stay with you for a moment there.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. If no one else wants, if I'm sorry, Erica, were you gonna say something?
Hi, Dan. This is Erica Clay from Jackson, Mississippi.
Hey, Erica.
Hi. I like to start with the care calls and checking in, because I was just like Steve. When I changed the calls to care calls, it was different. And then at the end, I would tell them, remember your favorite real estate agent. If you know anybody that needs real estate assistance, please refer me. and that made it easier for me. And sometimes I simply text and they respond.
And Erica, since you're making care calls, my guess is that you're talking with Sphere. And that as
Yes,
soon as
I'm
you make a
talking
care
with
call and you
Sphere.
find someone that says, hey, I'm looking to buy or sell, you're
Yes.
gonna have an appointment too. I mean, it's like basically like a one-to-one. I found a lead, they're meeting with me. I found another lead,
Yes.
they're meeting with me. Is that fairly true?
Yes.
So in that case, your challenge is not really conversion. It's really about the quantity of contacts that you have,
The
because
people,
or
yes,
the number,
yes.
the quantity, the number of people that you can share that caring heart that you have with.
Yes.
So that's where in your business that leverage might be take the form of how can I make it, how can I more easily get out in front of people? Maybe it's using KW command to send care texts and say, hey, I was just thinking about you. And then KW command sends out this text message to up to 200 people a day saying, hey, I was just thinking about you, or hey, with the storm, I just want to make sure you're okay. Or, that sort of thing. So now you've multiplied yourself using a tool like Connect so that you can, or Command rather, so that you can just multiply those conversations, because you can only have so many conversations a day. And like Steven, your conversations until you find get better to be able to kind of get in and naturally get out of those conversations, not get stuck in a 30-minute conversation, which is great. But you will both have the challenge of not being able to talk with enough people to have the business that you deserve for yourself and your family.
For sure.
Okay.
So that would be a simple form of leverage and doing more with less in this market.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, guys. Hey, I appreciate you, Arthurine. Thanks for having me come over. I appreciate being able to do this with you. I hope for the first time I went through this material, I hope it wasn't too clunky. And I appreciate the input and contributions from everyone on the call.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you so much, Dan. Thank you for your big old heart. And we are going to continue to pray that you and your household and that area will be safe.
Thank you very much. And thank you for reaching out to me. James, thanks for reaching out also. I got your message. Thanks, brother. And anyone else you have that would like to reach out to me directly, I put down my personal cell phone, not my business number there. So you can text me, I'll get the message here. And we can find some time to talk about any of these things later on.
Thank you, guys. And
Thank you.
you can always reach out to me. I'm here in Marietta, Georgia, and I am also a PC coach, so I will be happy to help you. Steve, if you want to role play, I'm going to put my phone number in the chat so you have another perspective. Because I really do believe that if you do not know your scripts and dialogues, and I hate saying scripts and dialogues, if you don't know how to hold a conversation with another human being, then the other 6 that we talk about, presenting to buyers and sellers, that's not going to happen.
Right.
Okay. So thank you guys so much for your time today. And remember, James has at 1 o'clock, some heavy hitters talking about their listed systems. And it's going to be in the pivot page. So you
That's
can
right.
watch it on recording. Yeah.
Is that at 1 o'clock, or is that the okay, that's at 1 o'clock. Okay.
1 o'clock.
Along with the John A. Cuff at 1 o'clock also.
And it's recorded, so you can always go in and watch it anytime. All right, guys, appreciate you. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you all.